Hello, my name's Katie. I'm one of the speech pathologists here at Soaring Health. I'm one of the members of the brilliant allied health team. I'm here this afternoon to have a chat about what speech pathology is and what speech pathologists do, and give some of my tips for helping support general communication for your kids at home. So, speech pathologists work with a vast variety of people, both adults and kids, really at all ages. We consider ourselves experts in all things communication. So this can mean from the sounds of the words that we say, so more articulation, and then we can look at language. So that includes expressive language, so choosing the words to express what we want to say clearly to other people and structuring our language. And then we've got receptive language, so understanding what other people are saying, following directions and things like that. Speech pathologists also work with literacy, so reading and writing skills, as well as swallowing, so all the muscles of the face, neck and throat. Also with fluency, so that's a stutter, or also known as a stammer. And speech pathologists can also work in voice, so that's sort of scratching the surface, but in general, that's what speech pathologists do. So some of the tips I thought I would share today for helping support communication at home is generally for children, but can also be applied to adults, absolutely, at any age. So the first one I had is for helping with expressive language, so choosing the right words. If you find that your child is presenting with problems in their expressive language, so maybe they're making continual grammar mistakes, for example, me want to go to the bathroom, or me is hungry, one of the best approaches to take with this is taking what they are saying or taking their error and repeating it back to them. So, oh, I am hungry, I want to go to the bathroom. And this is a really good way of acknowledging that you're understanding what your child is saying, but also providing them with the model for the correct grammar. Another tip that I have for expressive language is if your child is at that preliminary stage, so maybe speaking with one word, rather than combining them into long sentences, or maybe 2 or 3 words, a general good rule of thumb is, again, repeating what they're saying and adding one word onto it. So if your child is at that one word stage, so they're saying things like more or ball, repeat what they've said back to them, but add one word. So ball, yes, red ball, or blue ball, or throw ball. So again, you're acknowledging what they've said, but providing them with a model for expanding that language. So that's my first tip around expressive communication. Another one is a tip for receptive. So receptive language, understanding what other people are saying to us. A general good tip for following directions is saying your child's name before you give any instruction. So that's a really good way to make sure that they are actually paying attention to you and they've got their attention to you before you're giving them the instruction. That's my tip for receptive language. Absolutely, for both expressive and receptive language, some children do have more difficulties in these areas than others, and these tips won't be a game changer for everyone, but just in general, some ideas. Another one is a tip around literacy. So I'm a big promoter for using books for language growth and development, and absolutely recommend reading with your children. For kids who perhaps really dread reading, a really good way to help promote this is doing, say, mum reads one page and then the child reads the next page and you alternate. Or it can even come down to reading a sentence each, or if need be, mum reads the word and leaves one word for the child to read. At the moment, with learning from home, there are some really good online free resources for reading. So Spelled South Australia, which is spelled speldsa.com.au, have some great what are called decodable readers. So they're free ebooks, and they're categorized based on sounds. So for example, the first set of books only has 6 letters in it and has all the books have words only with those 6 letters in it. So they're very short, and touch base with your child's teacher as to what letters they're learning at school and what letters they're familiar with. And then if they've got a good knowledge of those letters, then you can choose which books to read with them depending on what letters they're up to. Khan Academy Kids also is a great free iPad app, and I think Little Learners Love Literacy, they have a great set of apps as well, and both of those have free versions on the iPad for some online books to read at home during isolation with your kids. BorrowBox is another great app I would recommend on an iPad, which is where you can link up with your local library and rent free ebooks to read on an iPad or a phone or a computer to keep reading at home at the moment when you're not able to go out and purchase or borrow new books at the library. That's something that you would normally do. And my final tip for today is around speech sounds. So articulation, or the way that we say our sounds. So a really great way of keeping track of this is writing down for about maybe a week or 2 weeks any particular words that you find your child is having difficulty with. For example, if you find that your child's often saying something like wed for red, pop that down on a note, and then it's a really good way that you might find trends in the particular errors that your child is having. Speech Pathology Australia has a great set of free pages outlining milestones for speech sound development. So there are some errors, for example, that one that I just gave about wed for red, that are typical of speech development in normal, typically developing children, except it goes through what ages you'd expect these to have stopped and what ages you might want to seek some extra assistance or speech pathology input for your children if they're still having those errors a little bit later on. So those are all my tips for today. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope that clarified the role of a speech pathologist and us here at Soaring Health, and I hope to see you in the future. Thanks.